Hello, my name is Gia Lopez, and this is my video playthrough of my Halo Infinite level. So for my level, I knew from the start I wanted to make a team deathmatch level that adhered to the Halo Infinite's core mechanics and to similar existing levels. Therefore, I decided to make a symmetrical 3-lane map with obstacles and design choices that would help create a level of verticality while also allowing for different playstyles. I decided not to make my map too big. I stuck to a pretty small mid lane to facilitate close quarter combat and by providing close range weapons. As you just saw, my mid lane is pretty small. It does have a lot of cover, and those can also be climbed and used to get to different areas of the map. As you can see, I also provide an energy sword and a shotgun to facilitate this type of close quarter combat. My side lanes become a little more complex due to the added levels of verticality and the longer ranges they would support. And in order to account for these, I provide longer range weapons like rifles and snipers. I try to keep my level fairly simple while still being complex enough that it would be fun without the added worry of getting lost and being overly confused about what was happening. To try and avoid making it too complex, I again stuck to the 3-lane design, and I kept the decoration in side lanes fairly minimal to not distract from the combat opportunities, but I still wanted to make sure I had something that looked polished and well designed. Therefore, my middle lane has a lot more decoration that actually also works as cover, as I mentioned. Even though I didn't add a lot of decoration to my side lanes, I did add a hollow table that serves as a bit of cover in the very long sightline that occurs here. I also added a gravity lift directly in the center that makes it seem like it was coming off of the table. But the real purpose of this isn't just decoration, it's to give the players access to the third floor where the sniper can be found. So while designing my level, I tried to keep in mind many of the guidelines for multiplayer FPS levels. I thought about the map symmetry and how I wanted to make sure I created a mostly symmetrical map to ensure that my level was balanced as possible. As you can see, the side lanes and spawn area are completely symmetrical. The only area that isn't fully symmetrical is my middle lane, where I decided to go for a sort of maze-like structure while still making sure that both sides had the same advantage to getting to that energy sword. As I mentioned before, I wanted to cater to different types of player behavior, and by adding the different amounts of cover and different weapon types that would facilitate long, mid, and close range combat, I think I was able to accomplish that. I also took spawn points into consideration. I will admit here that I had a very little experience with Halo games, and especially how it would normally handle spawn points. Because of this, on my first iteration of the level, I had same team always spawning in the same spawn areas. However, after playtest, I quickly learned this was an issue, and with the feedback, I decided to have some spawn points stay within the spawn area, but I added more of them in the first floor of the level, but in different locations. And I also made them, the ones that were outside of the spawn area, neutral, meaning any player from any team could spawn there. This would allow for a more balanced and fair fight, as the players wouldn't be able to spawn camp anymore. It would also provide more spontaneity and randomness into how you would decide to take on the next fights, as you would be spawning in different areas that would encourage different types of playstyles. So I also tried taking engine factors into consideration when making my level. Some of my most important ones were the capacities and simulation memory that my level would take up. The Halo Forge provides a lot of assets that could make my level look better by adding decoration and different functionalities, but they take up a lot of memory. In my first iteration of the level, I was taking up a lot more memory because of how I was creating walls and floors, since I would use multiple pieces for things that only really needed one or two. Actually, it didn't seem like too much, but it did make it so that my level took a long time to render and connect to a server, which really hindered the group who helped playtest my level. Therefore, that was a big consideration I kept in mind while polishing my level, and I was able to get the simulation memory significantly down, which took care of that issue. Another factor I took into consideration was lighting. In my level, there are only 5 lights in total because the middle lane has an open roof concept. I was able to use a directional light to illuminate that big area, but for the other areas of my map that were completely enclosed, I added spotlights. These were added in the spawn rooms and in the 3rd floor. I was able to get away with only using 4 of these because I added openings like doors and windows so that the light could shine through. I also used the hologram table. The gravity lift actually provided a lot of visibility too. I also decided to keep the directional light in a fairly high position. Halo Infinite Forge does allow you to decide the direction and pitch of the sun, which is what the directional light is. But I decided to keep mine in a fairly high position because I wanted the background to be a very space-esque scene, which means it would be quite dark. But by keeping the directional light high, it made it seem like the time of day was earlier, while still allowing me to keep the aesthetic I wanted. And finally, to touch on some of the feedback I received during playtest, my feedback was on the close quarters combat of my design. So I had originally put overshields in every 2nd floor room because I thought that would make it fair. However, this made it incredibly overpowered to just grab the energy sword and immediately get overshields, go over to the next room, grab another one. So basically you're essentially invincible. So I made sure to get rid of those. I kept it to only one that would spawn every so often. And I also added a repulsor shield that would allow for me to have symmetry in where I was placing the shields, while also providing for like a little fun and different gameplay mechanic by being able to like push other players away. And yeah, that is all I have for this video. For watching.